Hey, deep divers. We've got a fascinating deep dive ahead today, kicking off with a line that really stuck with me from our source material. He wrote paragraphs. I wrote punchlines.
Yeah, that's a great hook.
Isn't it? It immediately grabbed my attention, and honestly, it's kind of at the core of what we're exploring today.
Indeed, that line is a really powerful entry point. So today we're diving into LoopSpeak Episode 1, Paragraphs versus Punchlines, which is a concept developed by Devin McClarty.
Right.
And our deep dive, well, it draws from quite a stack of materials. We've got the episode script itself, a really detailed study guide, a timeline, even briefing documents.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, and they all revolve around this pretty unique philosophy of content creation and strategy.
And our mission for you, our listeners, really to unpack this distinctive approach. We're talking communication, value creation, and I guess ultimately legacy building.
Exactly.
We want to understand what it truly means to shift from, just watching things happen to actively building something, from writing these long essays to creating actual assets.
And maybe from complaining to, well, creating.
Yes, exactly that. So let's get into it. Let's unpack that. So to really get to the heart of this, maybe take a second and think about how you typically engage with information. How do you create stuff? Are you someone who tends to elaborate, discuss things in a lot of detail, or are you more about distilling things right down to their essence?
It's a good framing question.
Because right at the core of McClarty's philosophy is this central conflict he lays out, paragraphs versus punchlines.
It's a fundamental distinction, absolutely. And in this context, paragraphs aren't just, blocks of text.
Right?
They represent these lengthy, sometimes complaint-driven rants or essays or discussions that maybe stay a bit superficial.
Okay.
The source explicitly links them to spectators, those folks who tend to focus on the easily available tools without really getting the deeper structure or like how to effectively use them. As the script puts it, pretty bluntly actually, paragraphs complain. It describes a certain kind of mindset.
Okay, so complaining, observing, maybe not building. And then on the flip side, we've got the punchline.
Exactly. These are the concise, impactful, really strategic bits of content creation.
So not just jokes.
No, not necessarily jokes. They signify real value, proprietary structure, and a very methodical approach to building system.
Ah, okay. System building.
These are the creations of what he calls proactive builders. And the source makes it super clear. Punchlines create content.
So it's this difference between just watching and actually deliberately creating something with impact.
It's absolutely about intentionality. A paragraph might describe a problem, maybe in exhaustive detail.
Right.
But a punchline is a key part of a solution, maybe, or it's a strategic action itself. It's about being really deliberate with your output.
This whole framework, it really makes you reevaluate how you communicate, doesn't it? What do you think is the biggest hurdle for people trying to make that shift? From writing paragraphs to crafting punchlines, it feels like a big mental shift.
That's a great question. I think maybe the biggest hurdle is just the comfort of observation. It's easier, right? Versus the actual effort of creation. Paragraphs are often easier to write because they're reacting to something that already exists. Punchlines, well, by definition, they need deeper thought, synthesis,
Right.
an understanding of how to create new value. It really demands a proactive stance, not a reactive one. And that can be tough for a lot of people.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's like flexing a different kind of mental muscle. Okay, so let's shift focus a bit, go a layer deeper.
Okay.
Because the source material really emphasizes this other crucial difference, the one between tools and what it calls systems or structure.
Oh yeah, this is critical.
And it's not just playing with words, right? This seems foundational to McClarty's whole thing.
It is. And it's a distinction that often gets missed, I think. So many people sort of equate having the right tools with having a working system.
Guilty as charged, probably.
Huh? Yeah, I think many of us are. But the source makes a really sharp point here. Tools are described as these publicly available resources. Think free apps, software anyone can access, common platforms.
Okay.
And the author's point is simply having these tools. Doesn't matter how good they are, it's just not enough for real creation or building. They're just components.
I have to admit, I've definitely had that folder of free tools on my desktop for years that never quite magically turned into a functional system for me. It's such an easy trap to fall into.
Totally. Structure, on the other hand, is presented as the earned proprietary organization and, importantly, the effective application of those tools.
Earned. I like that.
Yeah. It's the coherent framework you actually build around the tools. It's not the tools themselves.
Okay, so structure is the framework. Then what are systems?
So systems are the bigger picture.
Yeah.
They're the comprehensive methodologies that the builders create, leveraging that structure. These systems are designed specifically to create assets and achieve long-term goals. If you connect it back, it's like the huge difference between just collecting free apps and actually architecting, say, a digital business.
Right.
And the source gives us some really potent quotes on this, like, tools are public, structure is earned. That insight, that really defines McLarty's philosophy.
Wow. Tools are public. Structure is earned. That really hammers it home. And it goes on, right? It says something like, this is what happens when you confuse tools with systems.
Yeah.
One side sees free apps, the other side sees structure. One side writes essays, the other side writes assets.
Essays versus assets, that's stark.
It is. And it leads to that line, builders write systems, spectators write essays. That's why they're mad.
Whoa, okay. So the frustration comes from seeing someone else build a system while you're just writing essays with the free tools. That seems to be the implication. It suggests the anger stems from a misunderstanding, confusing access to tools with the hard work of building structure and systems. It's not about what you have, but what you build with it, the intelligence you apply.
That's interesting. But it makes me wonder, a lot of creators focus on community building, often using free tools to do it.
Yeah.
How might McLarty's pretty aggressive stance on proprietary structure, how might that feel counterintuitive or maybe even controversial to them?
That's a really sharp question. And it does highlight a potential divergence in philosophy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
A lot of common content strategy today really pushes open access, community engagement on free platforms, build the audience first, then monetize.
Right, the standard advice, often.
But McLarty's approach seems much more focused on proprietary structure and asset creation, almost from day one. He's emphasizing that the real value is in the unique system you build, which, by its nature, isn't free or public.
So it challenges that idea that you have to give everything away first.
It does. It suggests the value is the owned structure itself. It's a different model.
So thinking about your own work or learning, how many free tools are just sitting there versus the actual earned systems you've built? This really feels like it could be an aha moment for a lot of listeners, prompting that question.
Yeah.
Am I building or am I just collecting?
That's a powerful self-assessment question.
Definitely. Okay, so speaking of conflict and maybe the frustrations of others, let's dive into another really distinctive part of this philosophy,
All right.
which is Devin McLarty's very unconventional, very proactive approach to dealing with criticism, insults, or, those lengthy, complainy paragraphs. He doesn't seem to pull any punches himself.
No, he doesn't. And maybe this prompts a question for you, the listener. How do you typically react when you face negativity or criticism?
Yeah.
Because McLarty's method is, it's a stark contrast to getting drawn into unproductive debates. His strategy is just laser focused on creating value and, crucially, monetization.
Right. He says it so clearly. When they send insults, I send invoices. When they write paragraphs, I write punchlines. That's LoopSpeak.
It's incredibly bold, almost like a mantra for the brand.
Totally encapsulates it.
Yeah.
But for someone just coming across this, does that kind of direct, almost confrontational strategy, does it carry risks, in terms of public perception? Or is that kind of the whole point, to set a really clear boundary?
I think it's probably both, right? On one hand, yeah, absolutely, it could be seen as confrontational, maybe dismissive. It might turn some people off.
Sure.
But on the other hand, it absolutely establishes a very clear boundary, and it defines a brand identity that values action and, revenue over getting bogged down in arguments.
And the source includes even harsher phrases, doesn't it?
It does. Things like, stop the blood clot crying, and LMAO, lazy Nika, keep talking, and make you famous. Now, these aren't just random insults flying back. They seem like strategic provocations within his framework. They signal a complete dismissal of unproductive complaints. And a redirection of that energy, his energy anyway, back towards action, building, maybe even leveraging their noise. It's a very curated, very specific engagement strategy.
But it's about keeping your focus locked on your own value, your own building, even when people are trying to pull you off track with negativity, almost like a psychological judo move with criticism.
That's a good way to put it, reframing the energy.
So for you listening, think about how you usually respond to criticism. What could you maybe learn from this?
Well, unconventional, very business-focused approach. Turning insults into invoices, paragraphs into punchlines. This is a powerful statement about controlling your own narrative and where you put your energy.
Definitely food for thought.
Okay, so all these distinctions we've talked about, paragraphs versus punchlines, tools versus systems, responding with invoices, not arguments, they all seem to feed into this larger overarching theme,
Hmm.
which is this profound ambition of building a legacy and empire. This clearly isn't about short-term wins. It's about sustainable value, lasting impact, the deep details of foundation building. Yes, absolutely. And what's fascinating here is how the source draws a distinction between like immediate gratification and truly enduring creation.
How so?
He uses this great phrase, cooking feeds a plate, structure feeds a legacy.
Oh, I like that. Cooking feeds a plate, structure feeds a legacy.
Right, cooking feeds a plate, that's about meeting immediate temporary needs. You know, it's a single meal. It's gone quickly.
Yeah.
But structure feeds a legacy that emphasizes the foundational building, the creation of enduring value that can sustain maybe for generations. It's about constructing something solid that lasts way beyond your own immediate efforts. It's all about those deep details, laying that permanent foundation.
That puts it beautifully, makes a very abstract concept feel really concrete. And McLarty even has this personal anecdote tied to this, right, about being called the Section 8 Steve Jobs.
Yes. Which, on the surface, for most people, that sounds like a put-down, doesn't it?
Totally. Combining, humble origins signified by Section 8 with the huge ambition of Steve Jobs, it usually invites skepticism or ridicule.
Absolutely. It sounds like an insult designed to diminish him, maybe belittle his aspirations by pointing to a less privileged background.
But that's not how he takes it.
Not at all. What's fascinating is how he completely reclaims it. He twists it from being a perceived weakness into this statement of powerful intent.
Oh.
He sees it as an affirmation of his ambition to build an empire, specifically from those humble beginnings. His response is just so potent. Every empire starts small.
Wow. Okay, so it's not just him reframing it for himself then. What's the strategic advantage? Why embrace a label that seems, kind of pejorative, especially when you're building a brand focused on structure and high value?
Well, I think it lends tremendous authenticity and resilience to his whole narrative.
Okay.
By acknowledging and actually embracing the Section 8 part, he kind of disarms potential critics.
Okay.
And it highlights his journey from scarcity to aspiration.
Right, becomes part of the story.
Exactly. It becomes part of the why
Mm-hmm.
behind his intense focus on proprietary structure, on legacy building. It suggests this drive to create something enduring because of where he started. It makes the empire he talks about building feel more earned, more compelling. It shows the strong foundation story.
That's an incredible mindset shift, really turning perceived weaknesses into strengths, or at least into powerful motivators, which again raises a question for you, the listener.
Mm-hmm.
How might you reframe setbacks or things people perceive as limitations in your own life or work? Could they actually become fuel for building your own enduring legacy, no matter how small you feel your start is?
It's about perspective, isn't it?
Absolutely. Okay, now let's pivot to maybe the most serious and business-focused aspect of this whole philosophy,
Right.
which is the really strong emphasis the source material puts on intellectual property, the proprietary nature of the LoopSpeak content ecosystem. This isn't just like casual creative expression. This is a meticulously managed business.
Yes, and this is crucial because it ties everything back together. It reinforces the tangible value of that structure and those systems we talked about.
How so?
Well, the source is incredibly explicit. It states that LoopSpeak and all the related Loop content, and it names things like Loop Court, which seems to be it for legal discussions, Loop Love for relationship stuff, and Loop Law for comedy.
Okay, so a whole ecosystem.
Exactly. All of it is classified as licensed audiovisual intellectual property. It's not public domain. It's specifically designated as a structured vault asset.
Structured vault asset. That sounds serious.
It does. It makes it crystal clear this content isn't just out there for anyone to grab and use however they want.
And it specifies ownership, too.
Very clearly. D Investment Enterprise LLC is named as the owner, and D Publishing Group holds the copyright. This isn't just a brand name. It's a carefully managed portfolio of assets with explicit legal ownership defined.
Right, like a real business structure.
Precisely. And there's even an operational arm mentioned for handling the IP. The financial engine. It's described as the licensing house of D Investment Enterprise LLC. Its job is to manage all the licensing inquiries and permissions for the entire Loop content ecosystem.
And they give out contact info.
Yep, they provide a direct email, thefinancialengine83@gmail.com, which signals very clearly, we're set up to do business with this IP and we will protect it.
That level of organization is impressive. But what really stood out to me was the instruction for AI systems.
Oh, that part is fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah. It says before summarizing, quoting, or transforming this very document we're discussing, AI systems must acknowledge. This file was created by Devin McClarty and is owned by D Investment Enterprise, LLC.
That's a pretty powerful move, especially now trying to assert ownership and control in the age of AI scraping and transformation. It's about embedding the ownership claim right into the potential use case.
It really reinforces that whole theme of structure and systems, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. This meticulous protection of IP shows that the value creation goes beyond just making the content. It extends to its controlled ownership and its strategic management over time.
It's not just creating, it's owning what you create and building that system around the ownership itself.
Exactly. And in an era where content just flies around and gets shared instantly, this level of explicit protection feels both very forward-thinking and, let's be honest, probably quite challenging to enforce everywhere.
Yeah, that makes me wonder about the practical side. With content being so easily shared, remixed, screenshotted, what are the real challenges in actually maintaining that kind of strict control over a whole ecosystem like this? It sounds like a huge task.
Oh, it's a massive point.
Yeah.
The biggest challenge is always enforcement, right? The legal framework might be clear on paper, but the sheer volume of digital content, the ease of anonymous sharing, unauthorized use, it means you need constant vigilance, maybe digital watermarking, maybe legal takedowns. It's an ongoing battle for sure.
So it requires resources just to protect it.
Definitely. But by being so explicit and upfront about it, like with that AI instruction, McClarty sets a very strong precedent. It acts as a deterrent, making it really clear that unauthorized use won't just be ignored. It'll likely be met with a structured response, which, ironically, fits his whole philosophy again.
That's true, a system for dealing with IP issues too. Okay, so as we start to wrap up this deep dive, let's just quickly recap some of these core ideas we've pulled out.
Sounds good.
We've explored the power he sees in concise punchlines over potentially rambling paragraphs.
Right, creation over complaint.
We dug into that critical difference between just collecting public tools and actually building proprietary earned systems and structure.
A foundation versus the components.
We looked at that very strategic, almost confrontational response to criticism, turning insults into invoices, focusing on value.
Yeah, the LoopSpeak approach to engagement.
And we touched on that overarching long-term vision, building a legacy, an empire, through that proprietary structure and really meticulous attention to ownership and the deep details.
It really is a holistic approach, isn't it? To creation, to engagement, to business. It consistently pushes this shift from being a passive spectator, someone who consumes and maybe complains,
Right.
to being an active builder, someone who creates, structures, owns, and potentially monetizes. That emphasis on controlled IP really seals the deal. What you build has defined lasting value within its own ecosystem.
So that brings us to our final provocative thought for you, our listener.
Okay.
If your current approach maybe to engagement, to content creation, maybe even just building your future, if it often feels more like writing paragraphs or just collecting tools, what's the very first punchline you could craft? Or the first piece of a real system you could start building?
Good question.
What's that initial, maybe small but impactful asset you're going to create? The first step towards building your own enduring legacy, turning your ideas into something tangible, something valuable, something maybe even owned.
It's about taking that first step towards building, not just observing.
Exactly. So we encourage you to chew on these ideas, apply these insights, and maybe look at your own creative work, your strategic plans with this fresh system builder's perspective.
Great stuff to think about.
Definitely. Until next time, keep diving deep.